We are going to a new project, configuration of Apache and Nginx on EC2 machine. So our project description. Configuration of on and what are the AWS services we are going to use? We are going to EC2 for running our Apache or Nginx web server. First, we get EC2 page. For on search bar. So this is our AWS panel and we are going to search EC2 and click on that EC2 label and it will open the EC2 web page in which it is like a EC2 panel where we can manage our EC2 instances. So EC2 panel looks like this. Now in the EC2 panel, launch the server. For launching an EC2 server, we are going to follow the following procedure. So we go to the instances section. So instances section is the section where all the EC2s, whether it is running or in the stop state or in the terminated state or in the pending state, is listed here. So when you launch any new EC2 instances, it will be showing at this location. So we click on this launch instances button. When we click on the launch instances button, EC2 form will open, in which we are going to fill the details. So these are the details which we are going to fill to create any EC2 server. Okay, EC creation form is rather create calling it a form. It is, let's call it a page is open. Okay, so the very first thing we are going to provide our server a name. So let's call it a web server. So the name would be web dash server. Okay, so the coming to the application and OS images, or what we call Amazon machine image. So what is the Amazon machine image? So Amazon machine image is a pre-compiled OS installation files, or you can say that the bundled images in which OS definitions and OS libraries and OS binaries are pre-installed. So there are various flavors of Amazon images. First one is Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat, SUSE or Debian. So we are going to use Ubuntu. So in the application and OS images, we are going to use the Ubuntu images. So it is like when we launch any EC2 server, it will be launching with the Ubuntu as a OS, and we can utilize the OS image as Ubuntu. Similarly, if you want to use the Windows server also, it is there. We can there is an option to select the Windows operating system also, or Amazon Linux or Debian server or SUSE Linux, any Linux flavor which you prefer. It will be there. Just you need to have the selection process and select the appropriate image that you want to use, and it will be just when we launch the instance, this instance will be booting up with that particular OS image. So the next step would be application and OS images selection. So we are going to select Ubuntu. So we have selected the Ubuntu image, and it is highlighted by this box. Coming to the instance type, so it is the instance type help us in getting the CPU and the RAM and the network configuration what we are going to allocate to our server. So this particular configuration has its nomenclature. So T3, T2 or T3A, C series or M series. There are various compute instances types that we can use it. So if you want to see the list, here it is in the instances section of the AWS. We are not going into much details, but we will select T3 micro as our instance type. So our instance type is t3.micro. Coming to the key pair, so the key pair is the SSH key pair that is required to log in into any EC2 instance using the port SSH, which is working on 22 port. So it is required to create a key pair. We will be creating a key pair, and once we create a new key pair, it will get downloaded into our local laptop, and that we can utilize to log in into our EC2 server. So this particular key pair login, we are going to use it. So key pair, what is the key pair we are going to use? We are going to create a new key. Just write the name as web server key and just click on create key pair, and this particular key pair will be, this file will be downloaded into your local system. What we have here, will be downloaded. Coming to the next step, this is the networking settings. So in the networking setting, we are going to just keep it as default. So we will be creating a new security group. By default, it is allowed with the SSH traffic. So for the networking setting, we are going to keep the default setting. Finally, the configure storage. So in this storage section, we are going to select the amount of storage plus the storage type we are going to use the storage type with the 8 GB of storage is sufficient for our testing purpose. We are going to get this configure storage. Eight GB with the GP as this type, and number of the instances will be as 1. So these are the few settings that is required to create any EC2 server. Finally, click on button to launch server. Button create server. Okay, let's some thoughts also. name here. So when we click on the launch EC2 instance, the EC2 server will be created. Okay, so let's click on launch. And finally, when we click when this page of instances, click on instance page, the EC2 server will be up and running. Okay, this is the process that we have used to create a EC2 server. Let's move step. Step number 3. Server. Yeah, so we are going to install either we can install the Nginx or we can Apache. Both are visible. Either we can use Nginx also or we can use Apache also. So we will try to install and test the web servers. Okay. So first we are going to try with installing testing Apache web server. And our next step would be installing Nginx web server. First we will connect to our EC2 server. So to connect to our EC2 server, we go to our EC2, click on button, click on connect. This is the one of the method to connect to our EC2 server over the web browser. It basically uses 422 only for the communication, but it is like an interface to log in into our EC2 server. So we are inside the EC2 server. So first we will run the basic commands of the Linux, which is apt update. We are going to install Apache2. Once the Apache2 is installed, we will check the service status. Okay, so first we are going to install the Apache2 and the testing. First we do sudo apt update. So sudo apt update will index all the packages of the Linux Ubuntu repository. So this is needed to be done to install any new package, or because these ways are not frequently updated or not created, maybe created long before. So we need to update the Ubuntu packages, and once these two indexes are done, then we can go and install the Apache2 web server. Okay, now we are going to install Apache2 web server. Total we have done the sudo update. Then we need to do install the Apache2 web server. Then finally will be seeing the status of the Apache2. Sudo service Apache2 status. Apache2 is up and running. So our next status is, once we have checked the status of the Apache 2 server, so our next step would be to see whether the default page of Apache 2 is loading or that we are going to see. So our default page can see using curl localhost. If we have done this, we would be getting the response of Apache 2. Curl localhost is the command which we can run. Quick response called web page. So if we want to do this web page in our own laptop browser, we need to see what we are going to follow. So the next step would be, so this is our EC2 server. We will be fetching our public IP address of our EC2 server. We will be fetching the public IP of our EC2 server. Go to view Apache to default web page. On the local browser, copy public IP of server, search it like this: http :// IP is the thing we are going to do. Okay, so we go to the browser page, we search for public IP, wait for some time. So as you can see, it keeps on loading and loading the page. Why? Because this EC2 server is reachable directly on the port 80, which is the HTTP port, and if we need to see why it is not reaching, you can see that. So what is the issue here? The issue here is the security group. We go to our security group, only 22 port is allowed. So what it means here is that it means here is that only 22 port is allowed, which means any external entity which is trying to communicate to our EC2 server will communicate only to 22 port, and that is the only thing it can do. So we need to update it. So we click on this URL, click on edit inbound rules, click on add rule, we search for HTTP, provide source as anywhere IPv4, and click on save rules. Okay, so 80 port is allowed right now. We go back to our section and let us refresh the page again. Yeah, so the if the EC2 default page is working now and it is accessible from the local IP address. What we have done, allow 80 port server security group course. We are able to default Apache browser. Okay, this is the default web of the browser, and this is the process we have followed to first we have installed the Apache 2 service, then we try to curl from the local host, then we get the public IP of HTTP using this URL, and get the public IP of the EC2 server from directly the panel. This the details page, public IP would be there. We search it using the HTTP, and our default page of the Apache 2 web server loads up. So this is the way we load the default page of our Apache 2 server. Testing. So next to do to test the Nginx web server, we are going Nginx web server as well. So also my documentation is ready. So the first thing is okay. Let's quickly move to the next testing. Now we are going to install Nginx. So to install Nginx, we are going to follow the same command or the same command with a different name. apt install -y Nginx. Okay. We check server status. Okay, as we are following this documentation, we need to stop the Apache 2 service because there could be the port conflict because both the web servers run on the port 80, which is the HTTP port of the default web port or default port of the web server. So we need to stop the Apache 2 service. So to stop the Apache 2 service, we can use sudo service Apache stop. This will stop the service. Then we install the Nginx and then we check the Nginx. Okay, let's get back to the server. Sudo service Apache2 status. We first check. This is the run command to stop the service, and we check the status again, which is an inactive state. Now then we install the Nginx service. If you refresh this page also, it will not work because this Apache2 server, which is running on port 80, is not running anymore, so that will not work. Okay, so let's go back to the server and install sudo apt install -y engine. Okay, so Nginx is installed. So let's check the service. Sudo service Nginx status. So Nginx is up and running. Now then we test localhost. We follow the same steps. Okay, the same steps, and we go back to our EC2 IP and on the web browser, just refresh this page. The question is why it is saying Apache 2 default page, not the Nginx page. It could be because of cache, which is just refreshing this thing. What we will be just try to copy this public IP and pin it in the incognito mode. It will take some time to get it refreshed. What we can do here is completely Apache 2 service. Then try it. Okay, so the question is why we are seeing still the Apache 2 default page. Let's try to investigate this thing. First we check Apache 2 status. This is not running. Sudo service status. This is running. Then we go to the folder of the Nginx and try to go to sites table. Add the default file. Okay, so there is no default config which is there. Come back to sites build, add default if true. It is going to which location? Where www HTML. Let's try to move this location. Get this index file. What does this file look like? I think this file looks like Apache file. Okay, this is getting served. There is another file which is Nginx file that is not getting served. So it is just a reference issue. We can remove index.html permission and use sudo. Then go back to our page and try to refresh it again. Okay, then it will be coming the welcome to Nginx page. So this is the way sometimes you might need to deal with the page which is hosting this thing, but most of the time it will be this where www location only which file is getting served. Okay, now the last step would be, and this is very important step, after the step number 3, step 4, delete all created resource. Why this is important? Because we don't want to incur any AWS bill. So that is why we are going to delete all our AWS resources. Just quickly write project summary. Then we can wind up this. So the first thing what we have is launch a EC2 server. Next thing what we have seen, called Apache, tested its function. installed another web server which is Nginx, tested it. These are the things that we have done in the project summary, and then we can wind up this project. So you can just have a look at it. If anything else is there, just do let me know. So this is one of the basic project of AWS, and a person who is managing or running the or working in any DevOps field look into the how the application is deployed. So the front end application generally is deployed using this web server only. Okay, thank you for watching this video, and we will be getting back with a new project in